My parents declared me legally dead so they could drain my bank account and steal all my money. I'm a 48-year-old male, my dad is 80 years old, and my mom is 78. My parents made the first polite request for reconciliation after too much stuff had happened, including them declaring me legally dead. I'm not used to them accepting my choices or showing respect, and I'm unsure how to deal with them or if I should talk to them at all. This story began over 30 years ago in Germany. I had just turned 16 years old and was accused of stealing a neighbor's car and wrecking another neighbor's fence with it while running away from the police. I was sloshed when the police picked me up, which is legal in Germany. I proclaimed my innocence, but nobody believed me. I was convicted and sentenced to 500 hours of community service because I was unrepentant. My parents used it as a tool to take away my time with my friends. They got a judge to agree that I had to work Fridays and Saturday evenings at the THW, which is an organization that provides disaster relief and sometimes soup kitchens. I also lost my license for mopeds, and I could not get a driver's license until I was 20 years old. In addition, when I finally wanted to get my license, I would have to pass the psychological test. The money I had saved for a car, around 10,000 marks, was used to pay for the damages. Sadly, it worked. My friends soon lost interest in me because I was not available to party during the weekend. Also, we were very vehicle-oriented, and I was destined to be a pedestrian for 4 years. An uncle of mine led the local THW and conveniently lost my timesheets for work done at the THW, which forced me to work there for 14 months in total. I did more than 900 hours. The time there taught me quite a lot, and it was interesting work, which I probably would have liked if I had not been forced to do. My parents told me that they were doing it for my own good, to save me from my friends, and that they had asked my uncle to keep me there longer so that I would be forced to take responsibility for my actions. That time ended as all things do. I left, unrepentant and furious with them for essentially doubling my sentence. I was in great shape and did well in school, as I had lost my friends and had no interest in acquiring new ones after seeing how fickle they were. Focusing on academics was an outlet that was not forced on me by others, and I enjoyed it. Then I found out who had actually crashed the car. I told the police. My parents tried to get my sentence repealed. I tried the retrial proceedings and failed because my sentence had already been served. The guy who actually did the deed was sentenced to only 100 hours of community service. At his trial, it came out that several people had known it was him, including my parents, who made him pay for the damages. Almost a year ago, they had put the money in a bank account, which they told me I would get once I finished my education, school, university, or apprenticeship. They also added 15,000 marks to the savings for the hours I had put in with the THW, which was a generous wage for a teenager. Still, I was furious with them because I would still have to wait until 20 to get a driver's license. If they had told me sooner, I would have gotten the sentence repealed. Also, they might give me 25,000 in about 5 years, but for now, they had essentially stolen my savings, and they were not giving it back. While they thought I was too immature to make my own choices, after a huge fight, I took my tent and camped out in the woods. I was still going to school, but not coming back home. After a week, they called the cops on me, who took the tent and forced me to go home. I was 17. Once the police left, so did I. I went to school every day, slept wherever I could, mostly barns and in the woods if the weather was good, as I had nowhere to tent. On occasion, the police found me. My parents called them every day for help. If I was caught, I would be forced to go home. They locked me in a room, but I simply waited for school and disappeared after school was out. Finally, I turned 18 years old. Now the police could not force me to go home. I only had half a year left of school to finish, so I continued like this. I had no friends because I smelled funny, and I had no interest in getting any friends because I was hurt, and I was not going to let anyone close to me hurt me again. Still, I managed to finish school with good grades. After school, I used the mandatory military service to disappear. I volunteered for service abroad, which meant Eastern Europe at that time. After 2 years, I was done, and I had a nice nest egg. During my time in the military, I had no close friends, but at least I was no longer a pariah. I enrolled in university and studied chemistry. I found 3 good friends and met my first girlfriend, to whom I am now married. I was 29 years old, and I was working on my doctorate when my parents managed to find me. Occasionally, they convinced the police to look for me as a missing case. The police usually found me. I told them I was fine but wanted no contact with my parents, and that was it. The police told them that I was fine, and they couldn't tell them where I was, and that they should please stop involving the police. Then my parents had this genius idea. They filed paperwork that I died in an accident in Italy. They were my next of kin, so the police gave them my address. Meanwhile, my bank account was frozen. The university told me that I was no longer allowed to work on my doctorate while being dead, and lots of other things stopped working for me. 2 days into this disaster, my parents were in front of my flat and demanded to talk to me, telling me that I forced them to take this step. They forced their way inside and told me they would stay until I was willing to talk to them and mend bridges. I told them if they insisted, they could have the flat. I took my laptop, a few mementos, important documents, and a bag full of clothes. I left the keys and walked out. It took me a few months to convince the bureaucracy that tales of my death were widely exaggerated. My landlord was very understanding and gave me everything back that was left in my flat. After my parents understood that I would not be coming back, they mostly took the photos that I had in the flat. They left a letter, which I burned. I was really pissed because being dead caused so many troubles. I was afraid that they would find me again, so I took a job in another city as soon as I finished my doctorate. That was 15 years ago, and now they have found me again. This time they sent a relative, who told me that they were sorry, that they did not want to explode when they found me, and that they did not want to force me to abandon my flat back then, but their emotions got the better of them. They would respect it if I still wanted no contact, but would love to have me and my wife for dinner. Honestly, I'm not sure what to do. What should I do? Some other random info. I never managed to get my driver's license. I failed the psychological evaluation because I was not willing to confront my so-called drinking problem. I would have had to show remorse for the driving incident I did not commit, so I gave up on that. I could probably get it now without the test, but I got used to not having a driver's license, and I no longer want one. I never got the money from my parents, and I don't need it. They probably still have it with interest in the account. They are self-righteous jerks, but they did all of that in an attempt to bring me onto the correct path. I am very certain that if I had contacted them and told them I had finished university and had a job, they would have wired the money to the account. No contact with them was more important at the time. So, what should I do? The money was supposed to be in a bank account that I would get once I finished my education, school, university, or apprenticeship. Then, an additional 15,000 marks were added to the savings account for the hours I put in with the THW. They also might have given me an additional 25,000 in about 5 years, but for now, they had essentially stolen my savings. All of this happened before they even declared me legally dead. They just used the legally dead strategy to find where I was. If I had to guess, it probably created more problems than just the one I mentioned. People are saying that for all the trouble my parents caused, I should sue them for declaring me legally dead. In response to that, I said it was a stupid idea. To be fair, they had tried to find me for 10 years at that time, but they made a really stupid decision out of desperation. In the end, it was a lot of hassle, but no lasting damage was done. That was a long time ago, and today it's an anecdote my wife tells to friends, and we all laugh. Time heals a lot of wounds, including this one. So, unless I've changed my mind now in my 40s, I'm stuck with what I originally planned to do, even to the point where I just lost out on all that money from the bank account. It sounds like that was not nearly as important.